Okay, apparently I'm live. This new thing YouTube gives, they call the webcam feature for live, takes longer to start up than the what you call it, Google Hangouts, which they've killed, did. Hello, Loogie and Fox, and yes, I don't know that I ate too much loogie, but I certainly ate, and yeah, I'm not even sure if I got all my rather extreme burps out of the way before starting tonight. Um, you count yourself lucky that if I do let rip with another one, at least you can't smell them. You'll only hear whatever gross noises I make. I do quite enjoy burping. Typical dad thing, I guess. Hey, Catherine, how are you? Look, you went to, there's a tiny little section of the Melbourne CBD where there are Greek places. There used to be more, and there are less every time I go there, but there's still a couple of Greek places in this little, like, it's just like an intersection, basically. Uh, and that's right. Morning, Gecko. So yeah, hello, did I say hello, Charlie? I'm saying hello, Charlie, twice possibly, but that's good. Yeah, we had a smorgasbord. If anyone follows me on the socials, you might have seen me post that we have a Japanese exchange student staying with us for a couple of days. Yes, the school that Mrs. Angry's lad goes to, that my lad also went to, although he's finished, he's at uni now. They do an exchange with the Japanese school, and so we have a student staying here for a couple of days. So we decided to show her a little bit of the Melbourne CBD, like I showed her Hosier Lane, and we got some dinner. So there were like five of us, and we had I've forgotten the names of everything, but there was this really good thing with um, it's like I guess it was pan fried halloumi with Greek sausage, and there was, I don't know, some sort of minced meat thing that had been coated and deep fried, and the obligatory dips, and some calamari, and a mixed grill plate, different sorts of meat. It was good, basically. Um, Very full, and good sort of smorgasbord of things. To say hello to Gecko. I don't know. Oh, maybe I'm tired. Maybe this is food, early onset food coma taking me on. Maybe I'll wake myself up by making a cocktail. That's a perfectly logical thing to do, isn't it? Um, Geez, I could just barely uh, resist like having an energy drink late in the afternoon. I've got to do these things. I feel tired. I'm going to make it. Maybe I'll make an energy drink. Then I thought, no. Then I won't sleep tonight, and then I'll regret it tomorrow. Uh, and so I didn't have the energy drink. Um, didn't even have an after work Pepsi Max, which I would normally do. But yeah, I've decided I'm going to make a cocktail. Hey, how's it going? I'm going to do another experimental one. I was toying with ideas. What's something I can just mix up? And this one is something I've never tried to make before. Uh, it's going to be fruity. Charlie, having Stone's green ginger wine and Coke. That's a very rock and roll drink, that one. Stone's green ginger wine, something all the roadies for rock bands would drink. I'm not going to do an espresso martini. I see. I don't like coffee. I don't like the flavor of coffee. This would be a bit of a sleepy time one. I got some things together. This one's going to have, it's got some sweet things and some bitter things. I've got a banana liqueur, an orange liqueur, Cointreau, and then it's basically a chocolate liqueur, creme de cacao. And I'm going to put a little bit uh, of a bitter Italian liqueur called Fernet Branca, which is apparently just made by like one family, the famous Fernet Branca from Milano. Since the year 1845, the secret formula of Fernet Branca has been based on an infusion from a unique blend of blossoms and rare aromatic herbs, carefully aged in the historic Branca cellars. So yes, it's a herby botanical bitter liqueur. So some sweet ones and that, and I've got my blue apps. I just want to put some blue apps, and I think I'm going to put some agave syrup and lemon juice in it as well. Lukey, you're having a plain orange juice cocktail. Good for you. YouTube, you like stones and lemonade. Yeah, see, I don't really like ginger. I don't like ginger beer. I'll use ginger in cooking, but I've never really liked ginger beer. I don't know. Maybe my taste has changed. Maybe I should try it again. Yeah, Stones is just like a classic rock and roll drink. Stones green ginger wine. Okay, I am going to make this now. I don't think what order or if the order matters. All right, I'm going to put some agave in. This is a complete. We have to come up with a name for this. Foxy, I suppose the real rock and roll thing is to not mix stones. You drink it out of your goblet, straight stones. That's probably the more rock and roll way to have it. Right, cornstarch. Got to come up with a name for this. So it's a banana, orange, chocolate, herby drink. What is it? Like banana, chocolate, orange, herbal. Oh, Loogie, been sober for 2 months. Good on you. Yeah, no, if I'll always if someone decides drinking's not for them, I will always give you the big thumbs up on that. Clearly, I'm not. But I don't usually drink to excess. It's ages since I've gotten drunk enough to feel sick. You know, it's like to have a respectable drink. And we need to come up with a name for this one. So it's feels like it should be easy. It's got orange, banana, chocolate, and herbal liqueurs. Of course, the orange and chocolate lends itself to Jaffa. Banana. A little bit of Fernet Branca because that's got a very strong flavour. Gecko, that's a good starter. Coco Moco. Quite like that as a name, actually. Is that everything I was going to put in it? That was everything I was going to put in it. So it's fruity, chocolatey, herby concoction. A little shake to make sure. That's the pressure made a bit of it squirt out, I think. Oh my god, I had a drink in a venue the other night, and there was lots of crushed ice in the drink. It was a nice drink. Lots of crushed ice in it, and like lemon on the top. And I finished the drink, and there was still heaps of crushed ice, and I had water because I was having a meal. I thought, oh, I'll pour water into the crushed ice and get a a bit of flavour happening there. Probably be a nice drink. And it was, but because there was lemon in it, I thought I'm going to squeeze the lemon into the water. And the next table wasn't that far away from me. And I squeezed the lemon and I just saw a stream just shoot out like straight at someone on the next table. And I was like, oh, they didn't notice. But I was really worried it was going to cause a scene. Gecko, is there a Sweeney Todd type drink? See, it's a nice orange colour. It's come out a nice colour. Oh, that's right. I wanted to put a little bit of absinthe on top just to give it a sting. That'd be a nice contrast, little. Oh yeah, that looks good. So just a splash of the blue absinthe on top, like a blue Hawaii. That's the name of a cocktail, though. Now the song. I reckon there'd be a Sweeney Todd drink. Lou, good call. A Sweeney Todd drink would be blood red. I'm just going to do a Google search because I reckon someone would have called a cocktail a Sweeney Todd. That seems like a good name for one. The Sweeney Todd cocktail. This one, what's it? It's bourbon, maraschino, creme de cacao, a pinch of. That's not a bad sounding mix. I've got all that too. Bourbon, maraschino, and creme de cacao. They're saying a pinch of cayenne pepper to give it a bit of spice. I think there's a few. I bet they're different. People come up with different things for that. What's this one say? A recipe, the Swedish. Oh no, that's apparently consistent. Bourbon, maraschino, creme de cacao, and cayenne pepper. No, I really want to put cayenne pepper in a drink. Yeah. Okay, no, I did find a different one. There you go. The Demon Drink of Fleet Street, which is, I think. Yeah, no, this is pretty consistent. A Sweeney Todd cocktail is bourbon, maraschino, and creme de cacao. But here's a variant: the Demon Drink of Fleet Street. So no, it's can't find the thing. It says it's got gin, chartreuse, and bitters. Sweeney Todd would serve it with a pie. But it hasn't got the actual recipe here. And you follow the link, you get a 404. That's okay. Well, actually, that Sweeney Todd one, bourbon maraschino creme de cacao, sounds pretty good. It's a pinch of cayenne pepper. Served with a meat pie. Yeah, actually, a bourbon maraschino creme de cacao cocktail would probably be a good accompaniment to a meat pie, actually. I've got to try this one. I haven't tried this yet. Oh, that's pretty good. Oh, can't half taste the that floating the absinthe on top, which I like doing for aesthetics. Does make your first mouthful taste mostly like absinthe, that really full-on licorice taste. Louie, love you some cayenne. I've made some concoctions with rock candies from my favourite place, the Red Balloon Candy Artisans in Pran. A couple of suburbs away from where I live, just off Chapel Street. Anyone in Melbourne knows Chapel Street, Pran. and these guys do really quite interesting rock candies. They make them in-house, and they have a lot of variants, and sometimes they do special limited edition ones. But they've made a couple with chili, and I've dissolved some of them in clear spirit to get a very red drink, and it has a real chili bite. It's pretty good as a mixer, actually. Get that chili bite. Good evening to you, Safa. You got a Chromecast today. Good job. Yeah. The YouTube Drinks channel did Wake Up Juice from Back to the Future. I don't even know what you're talking about, Safa. Australia's going horrible 17-2. I mean, my initial impulse is that's something to do with politics, which is indeed going horrible in Australia. Oh, okay. Oh, you did it the English way for a start. In Australia, we say 2 for 17, not 17-2. That is a bad start. 2 wickets for 17 runs is certainly a bad start. Gecko, what was in Wake Up Juice from Back to the Future? I don't even remember it. Ah, that's what they gave to Doc? Was that it? Tabasco sauce, cayenne pepper, chili pepper, and mustard seed. Bottle of vinegar, part of an onion. All right, that's non-alcoholic to sober you up, which of course doesn't work. The only thing that gets alcohol out of your system is time. But that's an interesting thing to give someone to drink. Tabasco sauce, cayenne pepper, chili pepper, mustard seed, vinegar, and onion. Yikes. Yikes, yikes, yikes. No, you've not seen 2 for 17. Yeah. Loogie, cricket, sport played by the British Empire. You have 11 people in your team. Each gets a turn at bat. When they are out, that is called a wicket. That's called taking a wicket. And interestingly, the wicket is also the pitch that the game is played on. But yes, getting someone out in cricket is called taking a wicket. And when 10 people are out, so when there are 10 wickets, that innings is over because there has to be 2 people out there. See, Gecko, your first problem when you say the rules of cricket are confusing, the first problem you have there are no rules in cricket. There are laws. There is not a rule book for cricket. There is a book of laws. That's how seriously people take cricket. It's about laws, not rules. So yes, yeah. So how's that? That came out of the 70s, I think. I think it was the Australians. I don't think it was anything else. I don't think it was anyone else, but everyone else does it now. It's basically, again, to confuse your poor American minds, for anyone here who's American, apart from Loogie, there are various ways to get out, but there are a couple of instances where you might not be sure whether the person's out. There are some instances where the person's obviously out, but there are others where you might not be sure if the batter is out, and there's a number of reasons you might not be sure, and in which case you appeal to the umpire to say, basically, I believe that guy's out. Can you adjudicate? Is he out? And the umpire, if he's out, will hold the finger up. And I don't know when it first started. I feel like it was the 70s. Australian cricketers would shout to the umpire, "How's that?" They're basically saying, "How is that? Is that out, good sir?" And that was contracted to, "How's that?" And everyone does it. You get occasional variants of that. Some enthusiastic person shouting, "How is he?" But yeah, it is an interesting aspect of the game that you're not always sure someone's out. I guess in baseball you have that when someone slides into a base and the ball's thrown. There's an appeal to the umpire: is that person safe or out? Uh, it's just that in cricket there's a few variants. The most notable one is leg before wicket. It's one of the more spectacular ways to get out in cricket is if the batter misses the ball and it hits the stumps and then you're out bowled. And that is one of the more satisfying ways for a bowler to get someone out. Uh, and but there's a rule, like if the ball, okay, the cricketers wear pads on their legs, and if they miss the ball or don't play a shot at the ball, and it hits the batter on their pads, and the bowler and fielding team believe if the batter hadn't put their legs in the way of that ball, it would have hit the wicket and they would have been bowled out. They appeal, and that's called leg before wicket. If it hasn't hit the bat and it hits the batter on their legs or in weird circumstances on their body, and the bowling fielding team believe it would have hit the stumps, hit the wicket, they appeal. And if the umpire says, "Yep, you know what? If the batter's legs weren't in the way, that would have hit the stumps and bowled them out. So I am declaring them out, leg before wicket." Um, and there are all sorts of complex things the umpire is supposed to take into account. Um, so leg before wicket can be a very contentious way to get someone out. Um, but even some catches, particularly to the wicketkeeper, catches behind. It's like, okay, if the batter smacks it up in the air and a fielder catches it, that's pretty straightforward. That batter is out. They were caught out, much like baseball. Catch a hit on the full, that's out. But because the way cricket's played, sometimes, reasonably often, in fact, the batter does a big swing and it just nicks the edge of the bat, and instead of going forwards, continues behind, wherein the wicket keeper may catch it on the full, in which case it's out, or the close in fieldsman a bit wide of the wicket keeper, who are known as slips fielders. They may catch it. If it goes to slips, it's pretty obviously come off the bat. But sometimes it's incredibly fine, like a batter will take a big swing, get the tiniest nick on their bat, which carries through to the keeper, and it's not completely obvious that it touched the bat on the way through. And then there'll be a big appeal, and they have to decide if it nicked the bat. And sometimes it's a very, very, very fine nick. So, folks, the biggest thing a cricketers carries their 100. Yes, no, known as hitting a century. That's the big milestone for a batter in cricket, to get 100 runs in a single inning. Oh, wow. We're all now talking about how hard a cricket ball is. Yes, it's pretty disturbing. It's this sort of hard cork inner wrapped in leather, and it's very hard leather. And a fast bowler can hurl a ball down at well over 100 kilometers an hour. Like, it's fucking frightening how fast a fast bowler can bowl. And I didn't know you had a cricket ball to the nuts and almost saw the pearly gates. I don't see, this finger is crooked. See, it's crooked, like, this one's straight, that one's crooked. So it bends a bit there. In school cricket, playing for sport at school, I tried to hook from a very fast bowler, and he was faster. And I wasn't even wearing gloves, and it hit my hand. It hit there. The cricket ball hit there, and I fell over very suddenly because it hurt a lot. And I ended up going to hospital and getting X-rayed. This top bone in my finger was smashed. It was in like 6 to 10 pieces, and they never set it properly, which is why it's slightly crooked. They just wrapped a bandage around it rather than setting it on a splint, because they didn't give a shit. And it's been crooked ever since. That's right. An unfortunate cricketer was killed by a cricket ball that hit him in the head a couple of years ago. You're laughing about me flipping you off. Yes, CrossFitter, that would make a good thumbnail. Jesus, that's a bit hard, RC. Former leader of the National Party's John Anderson accidentally killed his own sister with a cricket ball. Shit. Cricket balls are pretty. That's why these days they wear, well, since the 70s, really, they've worn a lot of protective equipment. You think it's funny me giving you the finger? Anyone who's injured hand or a finger, but if if your hand is down by your side like it normally is, it throbs. The blood sort of rushes down to an injured finger, and it throbs, and it's really painful. So when I had this finger smashed, it was bandaged up quite heavily. So I couldn't do this with my hand. That was always out like that, and I couldn't hold it down by my side because it would throb so much, it would be really painful. So I was basically walking around like this, and which my friends at school found it hilarious. And they used to just drag me around saying, let's go talk to a teacher. Like, we'd be in the playground at lunchtime. They go, oh, look, there's the principal. Let's go and say hello to him. And I'm like, oh, you guys are dicks. And they're like, no, I was going to say, hey, Mr. Malay, come over here. Andrew's fingers. And I would just be standing there talking to it. And I didn't have a choice. If I didn't stand there doing this, it was really painful. So and some of my friends are trying not to laugh, trying to pretend there's nothing there. And I'm trying to pretend there's nothing there. But I'm talking to a teacher doing this. My friends thought it was hilarious. So you think story better end with me becoming a Marvel supervillain? It's not a very exciting origin story. I got my finger smashed playing cricket. The good one was when I got my head smashed with a fucking discus. Dickhead threw a discus when I was standing in front of him and hit me in the back of the head. And those things are fucking heavy. They weigh a couple of kilograms. And explains a lot, I think. I got hit in the head that hard when I was about 16. It's probably 16, 15 or 16. This thing hit me in the fucking head. Jesus, that was an adventure. When they finally got around to seeing me at the hospital, they really thought I was going to have a skull fracture or brain damage. But my skull was too thick and I was protected. Although I feel confident I can blame any aberrant behaviour on the blow to the head I suffered when I was at school. It's not my fault if I've ever done anything truly bizarre. Not my fault. I got hit in the head. So for now, I didn't get well, they couldn't give me detention. It was obvious this was all bandaged up. I can do it. So no. RC, you think my Marvel name should be Corporal Cricket Accident? Yeah, it's about as much. I remember that CrossFitter Hawkey. When he was PM doing that, it was the Pollies versus the Press Gallery cricket match, and yeah, one of the journos did a bit of a short pitch delivery at him and hit him square in the face. Smashed his glasses. He wasn't wearing a helmet. It's like, oh Jesus! A journalist just hit the fucking prime minister in the face with a cricket ball. God damn. Good point, Fox. No medical bills when I had my various emergencies and whatnot. No medical bills because Australia. Catherine, you're talented enough to hit yourself in the back of the head with a javelin. I am impressed and confused. Uh, yeah, I think I've always heard stories that someone says, "Oh, school, someone in my school, got hit with a javelin at the sports carnival, right through them." Did, and it probably does happen at some point around the world. I'm still the only one I know who got hit in the head with a discus, though. That was bloody spectacular. I've heard stories about people getting hit with a shot put. Oh my god, and that one they have in the Olympics, the hammer throw, that's a fucking disaster waiting to happen. Where they spin round, round, round and let go, and they often let go at the wrong time and it goes flying off. Oh no, the hammer throw is a disaster waiting to happen. Catherine, if you were able to hit your head, you have a very flexible backswing. You have, wow, your arm is, if you got back far enough to actually hit yourself when you brought it forward, you're really flexible and really got your arm back there. That's pretty spectacular, quite honestly. So if you got to first get Pioneer Plasma set-top box. Ah, right. Oh, yeah, you got a nice TV for watching the cricket on. Gecko, you thought thumbs up was bad. No, it is in some parts of the world. Not sure. Is it South America? Some parts of South America, thumbs up is bad. I'm trying to think. I got rude gestures around the world. Yeah, the chin flick. I know that one in various points around the world. That that's I knew it was Italy. I know they're saying Belgium. I didn't know it was a big one in Belgium. Tunisia. The fig, which is this one, that's fairly aggressive in Turkey, Russia, and Indonesia, apparently. The forearm jerk, action of punching your fist into the elbow joints. Yeah. That's bad in Southern Europe. But that's, geez, I recognize that as an aggressive one. The mutza in Greece, Middle East, action of raising your open hand. Really? That's bad. That is bad. Okay. Weird. The cutest. Flicking. Oh, yeah, I've seen this one. Flicking your thumb from. They're saying in India, Pakistan, that's a fuck you. But that's more than India and Pakistan. That's more than India and Pakistan. There's other people who don't like that. Five fathers, Arab and Caribbean countries. Find the act of pointing your right index finger, group fingertips, and the grouped finger. That. You have five fathers, or in harsher terms, your mother is promiscuous. Wow, so that's like your mum fucked five guys. Okay, head shake. Okay, they're saying in Greece and Bulgaria, this is yes and this is no. Okay, that's confusing. Crossing your fingers. They're saying in Vietnam, this is meant it suggests a representation of ladies' genitalia. In other words, you do that to someone, you're calling them a cunt. Nice. The horns. in Spain, Greece, and Italy. Oh, that's the cuckold's horns. Right, yes. It's no, you're wrong. They're saying this signifies the bull's horns. Suggest that you're to a man his wife's cheating. It's the horns of the cuckold, you idiots. There you go, thumbs up. Okay, wrong, 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 wrong. Okay, this page is saying this is doesn't mean that's great in Australia. It means sit on it. No, no, that's grossly misinformed. That is absolutely okay. I already knew a couple of them were wrong, but that one's wrong. They're saying in the Philippines, this is the rudest thing you can do. Could get you arrested. Wow, gosh. But because the thumbs up is completely wrong, I don't trust anything else. That's right, RC. Shakespeare, there was a thing about that's in is it Romeo and it's Romeo and Juliet when the Capulets and what's are fighting, isn't it? It's like, do you bite your finger at me, sir? I bite you my finger. Do you bite it at me, sir? Yes, sir. Music. That's Satan, Satan, Satan. But okay, yeah. So it just goes to show, kids, don't believe stuff just because it's written on the internet. Because that thing said this doesn't mean good in Australia. No, no one thinks this is sit on it up yours. No, that is simply not true. Um, don't believe everything you read on the internet. I knew some of them. I know some of those were accurate. Um, but I was pretty sure some of them were wrong. And then I find out they say that ridiculously wrong thing about Australia. Now I don't trust anything on there. So yes, don't believe everything you read on the internet, kids. It's not or Gecko. It wasn't actually Wikipedia. And you're absolutely right. If it was Wikipedia, I could have just corrected it. It's just funny. I know it's definitely rude in some parts of the world, not Australia, categorically not Australia. But I know it can get you in trouble in some parts of the world. I think this has been made bad because the white supremacists thought they would be funny and go, "Oh, let's all do a prank. We'll appear in places and we'll give the okay hand signal and we'll start a rumor that it's like a white power symbol, and then that'll get out that we're doing a white power symbol, and the media will say it's a white power symbol, and they'll look dumb because it isn't." And it's going, well, yeah. The thing is, dude, when a bunch of unironic white supremacists do a signal as a call out of recognition to each other, and they say they're doing it ironically, it isn't actually ironic when actual white supremacists are using it as a sign of recognition to each other. They're just such fucking idiots. It does my head in. Hi, Laura. How are you? Good to see you. Yes, he's got white supremacists ruining hand signals and cartoon frogs since 1930. Yeah, the poor guy who came up with that Pepe frog that the fucking right wing cockheads commandeered. Um, I really want to know where thumbs up is really rude. What country is thumbs up offensive? Okay, now this is, he's saying the Middle East. See, that's what I thought. Yeah, saying some parts of West Africa and the Middle East, it's the equivalent of giving someone the thumbs up. And okay, and someone else is saying it's rude in Greece. But yeah, see, I don't know which ones to believe because there's that other one saying it's rude in Australia, which it categorically is not. So, but yeah, I'm sure it is somewhere. People are weird. Yes, we all think Pepe deserved better. And what's funny is because a bunch of right wing commercial websites were using Pepe on their sites, basically to advertise their sites. And the guy who created it went after them for copyright infringement. And because they were commercial sites, that worked. They had to stop using Pepe the Frog because that they were like fixed websites with a commercial basis. So he could successfully sue them for copyright infringement, for debasing his poor innocent cartoon frog. I mean, yeah, all the cockheads who use it, like, as their avatar on Twitter and whatnot, you can't do anything about that. But yeah, when actual commercial websites used it, you know, to signal their affiliation with right-wing fuckheads, uh, the founder could actually successfully sue them for it. That's right, Gecko. He sued Alex Jones over it. Oh my god, I can't wait for him to go away. He keeps losing court cases. He's got to get sued into oblivion sometime soon. Oh, that's another one I see in Australia. We've had a problem for decades with right wing fuckheads trying to commandeer um, the Eureka flag in Australia. A little bit of Australian history. There was a bit of an insurrection on the Victorian goldfields, and the flag raised by the protesters was the Southern Cross, and the place was called the Eureka Stockade, where they had to stand against the authorities. So it's become an anti-establishment symbol in Australia, um, and several trade unions used it. And as early as the 80s, possibly even the 70s, uh, I remember. I remember the various right wingers also trying to use the Eureka flag as their symbol. It did result in a very funny thing when there was, I think it was the painters and dockers. It was one of the fairly militant unions in Australia. They were having some sort of protest, and it was on one of the islands in Sydney Harbour, and they were flying the Eureka flag. No, ferrying past. Basically, some Nazi skinheads saw the Eureka flag, and they'd been using it as an ultra right wing symbol, and they tried to land on the island, like going like, "Yeah, we're with you," and they were wearing like Nazi regalia, and the unionists just went, "What the fuck?" and kicked the shit out of them, which was hilarious. Oh yes. Oh gosh. Safa, there's a story. Anyone who follows politics in America would have probably heard of an annual event in the US called CPAC, which is apparently a fucking zoo. Apparently, the acronym stands for conservative something action. Cool. I'm going to look it up. What's CPAC actually stand for? Conservative Political Action Conference. And apparently, it's just like an absolute fucking zoo. Like, apparently, it's really fucking weird. Um, and for the first time, uh, they want to have an equivalent in Australia. And of course, having real assholes in it, including some people who are definitely guilty of hate crimes. And one of the Labor MPs, Christina Keneally, has been advocating that one of them in particular should be refused entry to Australia, on character grounds because, they're the scum of the fucking earth. And yes, that's attracted the ire of Don Jr. Don Trump Jr. has gone on the warpath saying, oh, that's terrible. Yeah, fuck you, man. See, I think you're right. The BLF, Builders Labourers Federation, that would have been with the Eureka flag. 70s or 80s this happened. Oh my god, that's just terrible musical behavior. Catching a train from Broadmeadows to Flinders Street at 5:30 a.m. It's all about fluorescent yellow vests and Eureka flag badges. Or is that actually just union people? Oh, because they'll be going to building sites. I thought you, for whatever reason, were getting swamped with racists, but it's union people. So did Victoria steal the Eureka flag for herself? I don't know exactly the history. I don't know if the Eureka flag was created and raised for the first time at the Eureka Stockade. I don't know if it had history before that. Uh, I don't know its exact history. Laura, you have a question. Some Australians say when the Queen dies, they'll drop the British monarchy. Do I think William and Kate are pretty enough to keep the monarchy? There has been suggestions for many years that when good old Betty Schickelgruber pops her clogs, because she's super popular, but Chuckles isn't, and he will be very old when his mum finally drops off the twig. In fact, there's a non-zero chance she'll outlive him. But he'll be very old when his mum drops off the twig. There's been suggestions for years that he will not take the throne. He will go like, no, I'm too old. I'm the past. I shouldn't take the throne. My son should take the throne. And if he did that, that would be far more likely to extend the monarchy than him taking the throne, because there's no particular love for old Chuckles in Australia. So, if he thought the throne was more important than him, he may say, it's a bad idea for me to even take the throne. I think it should go straight to my son, who's young and vibrant and can take on the future. I think constitutionally he's allowed to do that. But yeah, if Chuckles was king, I think that would work in favour of Republicans in Australia. And yeah, if he abdicated and gave the throne to Wills, I think that would work in favour of the monarchists. But who fucking knows? Every time I talk about what's going to happen, well, I know what I think, but then I also know the stuff that's been happening is so fucking screwy that the idea of anything being predictable is ridiculous. But yeah, Gecko, our official head of state was the Queen, but we have the Queen's representative in Australia, the Governor General. So the Governor General is our constitutional head of state, although the position is mostly symbolic. So I, however, am very much in favour of getting rid of that symbolic link altogether and having an elected Australian as head of state. I know in the Republic model, there's two suggestions. One is, a president or head of state is actually nominated by the parliament. Those in the halls of power seem to favour that one. I don't. I favour direct election of a head of state. And yes, you only have to look at Trump to see the shortcomings of a direct election model. But there's no political system that doesn't have shortcomings. So music gave it. You raised a point. Friendly Geordies did make a point about when in November 1975, when the democratically elected Australian government was sacked by the unelected, undemocratic Governor General, alcoholic stooge Sir John Kerr. There was absolutely CIA interference in that process. We basically know that beyond a doubt, the CIA took multiple active steps to destabilize the Whitlam Labor government. Because Whitlam was basically saying, well, fuck you, America. Why should we slavishly do whatever you want? Why should we let you keep bases in our country? I don't see how this benefits us. And um, there were a number of things done to sabotage the Whitlam government, and the CIA were absolutely involved in it. Yeah, I see. The old footage of Sir John Kerr drunk at the Melbourne Cup is fucking hilarious. Yeah, tragically hilarious. Tragilarious. The Queen does pay attention to what happens in Australia. She was consulted by the Governor General. I think she had to give her assent to what the Governor General was doing in sacking the government. My understanding is she's always taken her role as, monarch of the Commonwealth quite seriously. It's quite important to her that empire is maintained. So how much is she still paying attention to Australia? I couldn't really say for absolute certain, but I'm sure she's paying some level of attention to what's happening. It is a good point, Harper. She's not discussed much in Australian news. Gecko, you were talking about Trump not getting directly elected because of the Electoral College. The concepts behind the Electoral College are not totally without merit. It's just that the Electoral College as it exists is fucking broken, is an absolute fucking disaster, is terribly unrepresentative. See, I grew up in the country. If you divide it, for instance, just looking at Australia's electoral system, where some seats in Parliament, like urban seats, will have far more voters within a single seat than a seat in a country area will have, particularly in the more remote areas. But those seats in the remote areas cover a much bigger geographical area than the urban seats. If all seats in Parliament had exactly the same number of votes, that would be grossly unfair to people in regional areas because they would have so few people representing them in Parliament. They would always be disenfranchised, and you could rest assured people in regional areas would always be completely ignored by the big parties because all the seats in the city would be the ones that matter. So there's an attempt to balance that in Australia, uh, where various seats in country areas have noticeably fewer voters uh, in them than seats in urban areas do. But it's again, if you did it completely geographically and said there's only one representative for each, X square kilometres, that would be grossly unfair to people in urban areas. So there needs to be some form of balancing. It's like, okay, these areas are more sparsely populated. We need to sort of strike a balance with what representation they have so they're not disproportionately disadvantaged or disproportionately powerful. Um, so, uh, but yeah, the electoral college system in the US is just fucking broken. It's absolutely ridiculous. It makes votes borderline meaningless. They categorically need to change the electoral system to have it be more meaningful. It's just fucked. That's also an interesting point, Safa. The US had compulsory voting. The US is freaky with the degree to which the conservatives try to stop groups that they believe won't vote for them from voting. Like, it's criminal. It's fucking outrageous. It does my head in how blatant um, the scamming of the Republicans with manipulating the vote is. Like, really does my head in. Disenfranchising black and poor voters is just wild. So I think Trump's hilarious. I mean, Trump, there is no better indicator that the system is broken than the fact that Trump got in. Like, he lost the popular vote by a significant margin, by millions of votes. And the broken electoral college system put him in. It's like, wow, there you go. At Gecko, I would agree that regional population problem is a source of contention in the US. I think there needs to balance. Like I said, if all the vote were strictly done the same amount of population getting the same amount of representation, that would be grossly unfair to people in regional areas. But the electoral college and even the Senate system in the US is a graphic example of being grossly disproportionate in the other direction. Suffer. Well, yeah, Al Gore got fucked over by the combination of the Electoral College and the Supreme Court. And God, imagine the alternate Earth where George W. Bush did not win against Al Gore. How different would the world be without Dick fucking Cheney engineering a war on completely false pretenses designed solely to enrich his cronies? As for what? Hi, Angel. How are you? Safi, you're from regional areas. Well, listen, I grew up in regional area, and I do acknowledge that if voting was based purely on population numbers, regional areas would be fucking horrifically uh, disenfranchised. It would be very unfair. But yeah, the American system is just fucked, quite honestly. You know what? I think I want to make a Sweeney Todd cocktail, maybe without the cayenne pepper. Maybe I could put a bit of cayenne pepper in. I don't. Oh, I've got some sort of pepper. It might be cayenne pepper. Hang on a sec. I gotta Sorry, this is on a cooking page. Potluck, oh my veggies, and they rank everything. I think probably if it doesn't involve hot things or sharp things in a recipe, they call the recipe kid friendly. Um, and because this cocktail doesn't have sharp things or hot things, they've called it kid friendly, which is all kinds of wrong. All kinds of wrong. Suffer. Bush didn't have a secret part in 9/11, but his incompetence didn't help because we know for a fact Bush had a communique across his desk from uh, intelligence agencies that said the headline was Bin Laden determined to strike in the US. Their surveillance had found unmistakable communications that bin Laden had been pushing plans for a strike within the US. And because that didn't figure in Bush and Co.'s plans, they didn't even look at it. They did nothing in response to this. I think it was an FBI communication. And lo and behold, it's happened. So maybe someone who wasn't obsessed with Bush's agenda would have looked at this report and gone, oh, what can we do about that? And maybe things would have been different. Who knows? All right. First thing, I'm going to see if I've got any cayenne pepper or something similar. No, I'm going to have a quick look. Oh. Chili. All right. I don't have any cayenne pepper, but I do have some ground chili. I might put a pinch of chili in it. Stuff you said school day was really weird on September 11th. Charlie, you wondered what Cheese TV was on. The because of the time difference in Australia, if you're the type who stayed up late in Australia, you might have seen it live, but I didn't stay up late. I went to bed. And I woke up in the morning and we always we had a TV in the bedroom and I turned it on. And the bit of footage that was running, because this was hours after the first tower, if not the second tower, had already come down by the time I woke up. And the footage they were running was something, I think the guy was a doctor who tried to go in to the clouds to see if he could help. He had some sort of camera with him. And of course, the dust in the air was so thick he couldn't see anything. And I distinctly remember it was this, very shaky, low res video footage. I distinctly remember him saying, "Oh God, I hope I don't die." And there's a little ticker running around along the thing like, terrorist attack hits World Trade Center. And my partner of the time, she looked at the TV and she was basically like, what the fuck? What the fuck is this? What the fuck? And I was just looking at it and it was so unreal. Like it was so unprecedented. My brain would not process this is real, this is news. I just thought, weirdly, there's some sort of disaster movie on this early in the morning. It's like 7 in the morning or something. And I was just going, that's not real. That doesn't make any sense. terrorists destroying World Trade Center in New York City. That's not real. That's not a thing that happens. And turns out was a thing that happens. But it was I don't know how long it took me to actually process this was a real thing that was happening. Ugh. Okay, I'm going to try this. So I need to get my bourbon and maraschino. I've got the creme de cacao. So I'll put something. Hi, Stella. How you doing? Laura, I think you're right that there was some jurisdictional fuck ups between the FBI and the CIA, but we know for a fact Bush got a report on his desk, the headline of which was Bin Laden determined to strike within the US, and he did nothing. It wasn't part of his agenda and he just ignored it. Stella, fortunately, we're not really talking conspiracies. We're just talking memories at this point. All right, I'm going to put some things back and get some things. That's right. I want bourbon and maraschino. Put this back. This back. This here. Bourbon and maraschino. Oh, this ought to be interesting. All right. Okay. What portions am I meant to put it in? So it's mostly bourbon, a little bit of maraschino, a little bit of creme de cacao. Okay, that's fine. A pinch of cayenne and a bit of lemon. Okay, I can do that. I like that, Charlie. You were 8 when it happened and went to school, and everyone's going, "What the hell wasn't Cheese TV on this morning?" For those who don't know, Cheese TV was a rather legendary kids program that was on in the mornings, except not this morning. Yeah, Gecko, that's a good point that most people were probably fairly deep in denial and disbelief about what happened to the first tower until the plane hit the second tower. But yeah, no, that was a pretty fucking wild event, that one. To state the bleeding obvious. Oh God, Stella, you were watching Buffy when it happened, and so you watched it live. Yeah. Well, it had basically all happened by the time I woke up. So it was very disorienting to see what was on TV because it wasn't making a lot of sense. And it was a little while before I really understood it had happened. It was very weird. Very, very weird. And I remember all the surreal stories that were coming out of New York, like a lot of online media I was reading, people telling stories about what it was like in New York, and it was just different. Like everyone was fucked up, basically. And the weird thing is not completely in bad ways. Like there was some positives in the way people were reacting, but people were definitely acting weird. They were very shell shocked. And it took a while before things got back to something approaching normal in New York. That was a big fucking psychological wound. Angel, you were eating cold McDonald's from the fridge when it happened. Damn. All right, Foxy, your mum was awake and chatting with her American friends when it happened. Yeah, because it was the very early days of the public commercial internet. Well, not that early, I suppose, but we didn't. Social media wasn't really a big thing. I got sticky hands. I'm just going to get a cloth. Ugh. Builded things. Ugh. Oh, yes, the social media world would make something like that very different. Um, yeah, because of course people would have posts. We've heard, there were emergency calls that were recorded from within the building, but of course, if it happened now, hundreds of people would have been posting to social media from within the buildings, which, God, that would have, God, wouldn't live streams from within there have been horrifying and just impossible to not watch? Or I wonder if I put too much chili powder in this. Oh, yes, I remember that, Stella. Steve Buscemi, the actor who had been a firefighter, went back to his old brigade and worked with them and didn't make any publicity. So it wasn't until quite some time later we knew. But you're right, that would have been all over social media if it had happened. Safa, that's a good question. What year did MySpace launch? Musical Avid, you're saying it's 2003? But even MySpace wasn't really about instant reporting of stuff like Facebook and Twitter are. So even that's not really the same. I didn't put too much chili powder in this. There's definitely chili powder in it, was there? That's not bad. A Sweeney Todd. So if it was anything before MySpace, before MySpace, we were just using things like GeoCities and other web hosting stuff, but there wasn't an instant reporting thing. Uh, yeah, and if I remember rightly, the internet, like the web, was so underpowered that basically all the major news sites crashed under the demand. Oh, maybe I put too much chili powder in this drink. Actually, it's a kind of nice burn. It's just, but it's like, oh no, that's right. There is definitely chili powder in there. There is definitely chili powder in that drink. If I made one again, I might I put a couple of shakes. I might put less in it. It's not terrible. It's not bad even, but I'm definitely feeling a burn. Uh, Well, see, Laura, you raise an interesting point. One of the issues with the September 11th attacks is they were essentially too successful. Have you ever heard of a significant hijacking event since then? No, it's like now people realize, particularly a plane, if a plane is hijacked, uh, then the passengers and crew realize the likelihood of it being used by a weapon as a weapon. And yeah, so they would actually um, die to stop them. That's a weird, unexpected side effect of the September 11th attacks. They were essentially too successful, um, and it made basically impossible to hijack a plane. Yes, Stella's right. There was the passengers of a fourth plane that had been hijacked, and they did manage to get communication with the ground, and they realized what had happened. And there was the two that hit the World Trade Center, the one that hit the Pentagon, and there was a fourth one that had been hijacked. There's a belief that that was going to hit the Capitol building in Washington, which, again, Jesus, that would have been psychologically pretty fucking full on. Um, and yeah, those passengers knew what had happened. Uh, and they did probably storm the cockpit. And in the fight with the hijackers, the plane went down just in a field in the middle of nowhere. So, God, that would have been even more full on if a plane had actually hit the Washington Capitol building or the White House. The White House may have been a target. That'd be pretty full on. Um, But yeah, hijacking planes is basically a no-go now, um, which is why the worst, most appalling terrorist attacks we've seen since have been fuckwit maniacs with guns and bombs on the ground attacking, soft targets, civilian targets. Um, and those attacks are absolute. Oh yeah, in cars, vehicles. Those attacks are absolutely horrific and awful, but they don't have anywhere near the death toll or the impact of flying a fucking plane into a building. Um, but yes, I did see someone say, "Is Australia safe from terrorism?" Nobody's safe from terrorism. Terrorism by definition is asymmetric warfare. It's designed to inflict terror, and of course, you know the various acts. Uh, whether they're terrorists or freedom fighters or heroes, invariably depends which side you are on, because the British could call the American revolutionaries terrorists, and it would fit a particular uh, definition to say America was founded by terrorists. It depends which side you're on. But yeah, attacking civilian targets is a fucked, inexcusable, shitty thing to do. Stella talking about 2001 engine got a flashback sound. Was that ICQ? Was it ICQ that went when you had a message? So with the US invade Saudi Arabia if it didn't have oil. That is an interesting question. The US likes having a totalitarian regime being one of the most powerful in the Middle East, because they can, cut deals with them to um, try and maintain some control over what happens in that part of the world. I think it's a fucking abomination that we Western nations have such friendly relations with Saudi Arabia when the fucking Saud royal family are cunts. Like, they're the fucking worst. But it suits the political agenda in the West to make a deal with a totalitarian regime like the House of Saud. They're fucked. It's a fucking embarrassment that we're on friendly terms with them with all the shit they do. But yeah, the way the hood is. I didn't know any details. I did hear something about a British oil tanker being captured by Iran. The tanker go into Iranian waters. See if I can find a news story on it. Oil tankers track containers vanishing in the Straits of Hormuz. How will Boris Johnson handle the tanker row with Iran? Iran releases footage of seized oil tanker crew. What has happened? Oh, experts fear Boris Johnson will fall in behind US President Donald Trump's hostile US stance towards Iran. Ooh, the UK sent a second warship to protect British vessels, and Iran rejected plans for a European naval mission. Ooh, geez. Who the fuck knows what's going to happen there? It's all kinds of fucked up. Oh, Safa, the whole Syria thing is fucking weird. Yes, the links between Assad and Putin are very bad. Very, very bad. Angel Ice, you're going to change your name. Okay, fair enough. Stella, you do sound shocked at the idea of Boris Johnson being a spineless Trump cocksucker. Very, very shocking turn of events, that one, I know. But yes, say it ain't so. Boris is going to be a shameless toady. That's what a few people think, anyway. Just to tell you what, putting some chili powder in a drink is not bad. It really actually makes for an interesting flavor on top of all the other stuff on it. I'd call it a win. The Sweeney Todd cocktail, I would call it a win, basically. Oh my god. But yes. Ugh. So we're having a second cocktail. The reason I'm saying I'm going to go down a second cocktail. That's okay. There's only two. I didn't have any drinks with dinner because I was driving. Um, so yeah. I mean, I'll probably be fine at work tomorrow. It usually doesn't affect me. Oh, I'm just feeling this chili going through me. God, I feel like the chili might have more effect on me than anything else, honestly. The stuff of your friend's old man who lives in Melbourne got mail to join the Ukrainian army because they have a cutoff that's 55 or 60. Holy cow. So you really want to bolster your army if you're taking recruits who are 55. That is really weird. Oh god, Laura, we're talking about 9/11 truthers. Yes, they will twist anything. You're right. Someone said the BBC mistakenly announced, yeah, Building 7 collapse an hour because of clock change. Put out clocks changed in October. They insisted it was clock change. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Seriously. Basically, any conspiracy theorist is pointless to talk to, but 9/11 truthers are just spectacularly fucked. Like, if they insist on going, I will not waste time or energy on 9/11 truthers. If anyone gets in my face, I'll just go like, no, actually, every single ridiculous point you're raising has been comprehensively disproved. There is nothing to anything you say. And in fact, the things you say and the way you're carrying on, basically impossible to tell the difference between you and a profoundly mentally ill person. So, shut the fuck up. So you think you can still join the Australian Army up to 52? Wow. And yeah, that is a good point, Safa, that voluntarily joining and getting a call up are two different things, quite different things. Um, that is an interesting rename, Angel. You now Angel of Death, die to respawn. That is an interesting name change right there. I like that musical air better. Respond to 9/11 truthers by singing "Go fuck yourself" to the tune of Neil Diamond's "Sweet Caroline." You go fuck yourself. Da da da. You're a brain dead fucking cunt. Da da. I just hate you. Da da da. You are so full of shit. I can't stand. That was no. There you go. That was a little bit of improvising of lines for "Go Fuck Yourself" to the tune of "Sweet Caroline." Thanks for the inspiration, musical elevator. Some of you evaded the Russian army. Is there conscription? Like, is there a mandatory service? Because there are a few countries around the world that have a national service requirement. I had a friend in Turkey, and he'd done his time in national service. It's 2 or 3 years. So that everyone in Turkey does their bit in national service. Oh, so if they want you for 1 year and they try and get you before you're 27, okay. Or 3 years in the Navy. Is that because the Navy's 3 years, 3 times easier than the Army? Charlie, you think Italy has it? There are a few countries around the world that have national service. Israel, of course. Laura, you consider joining the RAF in the UK, but you're on the edge of too old. Ooh, you could have been a chaplain. You had to tell them that wouldn't work because you're an atheist. That's a minor impediment. Do they have non-denominational chaplains? You could have been like a Wiccan chaplain or uh, an what am I trying? A pagan chaplain, maybe. Oh shit! You know what? So you keep forgetting it's like live chat instead of. No, I've got live chat on. For a second, I thought I'd gone the whole live stream without having the top chat thing. But no, I actually do have live chat. You made me think for a second there. I'd gone the whole live stream without having the right thing on. Angel, you changed your icon picture as well. Nice. Nice. I was thinking of putting a new icon on my social media because I was at a thing recently corporate do where they had hired a caricature cartoonist, and I got a caricature done that I quite like. It's very funny. Like I said, oh, can you draw me looking angry? And I can use it on social media. And he said, what do you look like angry? And I'm going like, ah. And so he did it. And I really like it. It looks a bit like I'm constipated. I won't lie, it looks a bit like I'm constipated in the picture. I keep meaning to scan it. I was going to scan it and use it on social media. Um, yeah, in fact, if I scan it and put the scan up, my friend Frankie the Skin always likes to colorize black and white stuff that I put up. He might colorize it. Gecko, you're going to bed? I'm going to go to bed too, actually. It being 10 p.m. Bedtime for all good boys and girls. And if you're bad boys and girls, shame on you. Shame on you. Musically, a bit of summary of the army: crawling through mud, climbing over walls, through insect-covered foliage. Uh, the Navy's crappy crews overseas where you have to work, but at least you get fed and fed. I think the other branches of the military tend to think the Navy are fucking wankers and have it easy, particularly compared to infantry forces, but even compared to the Air Force. Lots of, I was going to say, it's friendly rivalry between the different branches of the armed forces, but it's often not very friendly. Yes, there's a yawn from me, which means it's time to go. Still, you're going to kill some shit on World of Warcraft, so you don't kill politicians. It's good to have an outlet. Catharsis is a powerful thing. I've always said, like, that's why I do the angry, shouty videos, so people could get some catharsis, because you get told you're not supposed to be angry, you're not supposed to shout and swear and abuse people. So I do it in my videos so people can have the catharsis of me doing the angry stuff, so they don't have to I'm going to yawn again, which is as clear as any. I should definitely say good night. So thank you one and all, fine people, for joining me this evening, even though I was a little late because I've been out and about. So I hope you all look after yourselves. I think I feel like there's chili powder in the air, blinking all the time. Yes, look after yourselves, one and all. I'll hope to see you again soon. I'm not sure if I'll get a TFU video up tomorrow again, because I think we might be doing something with our Japanese exchange student. So you may or may not see a video from me tomorrow. You'll probably see something from me on the weekend, whether it's pre-recorded or a live stream with Eva or AZ or both. Who knows? Who knows what the weekend will bring? Yes, Safa, enjoy the cricket. But night, night, one and all. Look after yourselves, and I will see you again soon. Saying bye for now.